Welcome to the Kellwood Vendor-Made Product Development 360 Process tutorial. In this tutorial, we will be training your team on our new development process. This tutorial will be broken up into chapters. Please watch the tutorial from start to finish. Afterward, if you would like to review any chapter, you can select it from the base menu. The objective is to deliver a finished showroom sample that fits, has the right attitude, executed correctly, and constructed out of raw materials that are within our price point. By following these fundamental principles, and with the addition of clear communication between our designers and your team, we can all be successful. Let's begin. Here are the chapters that we will cover. Chapter 1, Initial Review of the Development Tech Pack and Product Development Calendar. Chapter 2, Drape a muslin. Chapter 3, How to take good photos to email to your Kellwood designer. Chapter 4, Designer reviews muslin photos and sends comments. Chapter 5, Revise pattern and submit proto sample. Chapter 6, Designer reviews proto and approves to make the showroom sample. Initial review of the Development Tech Pack and Product Development Calendar. The Product Development 360 process starts when you receive a Development Tech Pack from your Kellwood designer. Please print all pages and carefully review the information, making note of any questions you have. You will receive all necessary details and instructions, including the sketch, measurements, the bill of material, all specific callouts for construction, fit, and any reference garments or reference patterns. Review the product development calendar and mark your due dates. Double-check that all fabric and trims are available. If you have questions or need clarification regarding any aspect of the Development Tech Pack, email your Kellwood designer right away. Once your questions have been answered, give the Development Tech Pack to your pattern maker and discuss all style details and give all due dates. Drape a muslin. Once your pattern maker reviews the tech pack and understands the new style, they can begin to drape a muslin on the Kellwood approved mannequin. This is a time to think creatively. Step 1. Review the sketch. Review the sketch and think about fit and attitude. Make note of all special design lines and design details. Review all specs and construction requested. Contact your Kellwood designer for any suggestions you might have. Refer to your Kellwood brand's croquis as a guide for proportion and specs. Step 2. Fabric and movement. Consider the type of fabric being used for the final sample. Note any special placements, matching lines, or combo fabrics. Step 3. Draping a muslin. Drape directly onto your Kellwood approved mannequin, or you can start with a reference pattern. Sample fabric for the muslin should be as close as possible to the sample quality. As an example, if the sample quality is a knit fabric, then the muslin you are draping should be in a knit fabric. Use light colored fabrics so the design lines and design details show in the photos. Construction can be basic sewing or pinning directly onto the mannequin. Step 4. Interior construction. Think about what interior construction is functional and will result in a nice look. Considering a garment's closure, think about wearing open as well as closed. When the pattern maker notifies you that the muslin is ready, you must check the overall design interpretation, fit, and placement of any design details referring back to the tech pack and sketches provided. Adjust anything that is not meeting the designer's request. You are now ready to take the muslin photos to email to your designer. To review these steps. Step 1. Review the sketch. Step 2. Fabric and movement. Step 3. Draping a muslin. Step 4. Interior construction. How to take good photos to email to your Kellwood designer. Understanding how to take good photos is a very important part of the 360 process in communicating through email. When the muslin is ready for the designer's review, please take clear, well-lit photos which must include the front, back, and side of the muslin draped on the mannequin. Please also include close-up photos of any special details such as pocket placement, design lines, trim, or appliques. Here are some basic tips on how to take great photos. Step 1. Use the automatic setting on the camera. Use the automatic setting if your camera allows. Step 2. Use a tripod or steady surface. If possible, use a tripod or steady surface to mount the camera while taking photos. If you cannot use a tripod, hold the camera steady with both hands to take the photo. Always check to make sure the photos are not blurry. If they are, retake them before sending to your Kellwood designer. Step 3. Take photos from the proper angle. Take photos from a normal standing height. Do not take photos from above or below the mannequin. The angle of the camera should be straight on, facing the mannequin directly. After photographing the front, simply turn the mannequin to photograph the side and back to complete the 360 view. Be careful not to clip off the top, bottom, or side of the garment in the photos. Step 4. Clear out the background. Be aware of what is behind and around the mannequin. Clear out any obstacles that can obscure the outer edges of your garment before taking your photos. Step 5. Think about color and lighting. Avoid having a very bright background when taking photos of light-colored garments or light-colored muslin fabric. Also avoid having very dark backgrounds when taking photos of black or dark-colored garments. Step 6. Use even lighting. Photos should have an even amount of light on the garment. Avoid shadows. Make sure all details are clearly visible in the photos. Step 7. Avoid the flash function. Avoid using the flash function on your camera. The flash will be too bright in most cases and create an uneven lighting condition and color shifts in the appearances of the garment. Step 8. Take photos of detailed work. Take the same care in previous steps with the photos of the detailed work. Move in closer with your camera and refocus the camera on the detail work. You can also use the macro feature setting on your camera for very close images. Step 9. Always review the photos. Always review the photos on the camera to make sure they are of good quality before sending them to your Kellwood designer. Retake the photos if necessary. When you have the number and quality of photos you need, email the photos and any additional comments or questions back to your Kellwood designer. Please allow 24 to 48 hours for the designer to return an email with answers to your questions. To review these steps, Step 1. Use the automatic setting on the camera. Step 2. Use a tripod or steady surface. Step 3. Take photos from the proper angle. Step 4. Clear out the background. Step 5. Think about color and lighting. Step 6. Use even lighting. Step 7. Avoid the flash function. Step 8. Take photos of detailed work. Step 9. Always review the photos. Designer reviews muslin photos and sends comments. Your Kellwood designer will review the photos of the muslin and your questions. The designer will compare the photos of the muslin to the sketch in the development tech pack. The designer is looking at sketch interpretation, attitude, general fit, and the placement of any design details. If the muslin fails the designer's approval at this stage, the designer may ask for a second muslin before approving to a proto sample. Drape a second muslin and submit a new set of photos. Most importantly, ask the question of your designer if your pattern maker executed the sketch correctly or if the designer changed their mind. Within 24 to 48 hours, you will receive the comments. Please review and confirm your understanding back to the designer. It is important at this stage for you to take note of the designer's likes and dislikes. Revise pattern and submit proto sample. Once approval is given to proceed to a proto, hand off the changes and corrections to the pattern maker. The proto can be made using substitute fabrics and trims when the actual sample quality is not available. The pattern maker must complete the pattern, executing all changes requested by the designer. This is a time for the pattern maker to also focus on overall construction, including interior finishing. The pattern maker should keep in mind good balance, fit, and attitude. Make sure to address all fit issues before sending out the sample. Once the proto is ready, put it on the Kellwood approved mannequin and conduct an internal review. Look at balance, fit, and check that all the designer's requests have been executed. Take the main 360 photos of front, back, and side and email them to your Kellwood designer. But wait to ship the proto until you receive approval from the designer. When preparing the proto for shipping, be sure to check for the following. The pattern maker must measure the proto, write the measurements on the spec sheet contained in the development tech pack, and attach it to the hang tag on the sample. Make note of any suggestions about more efficient manufacturing processes, cost savings on construction, fabric, or trim. Make sure to include the FDS sheet and any swatches or trim for approval. The pattern must be emailed to the designer in either a Gerber zip file format or DXF file format, which could be either ASTM or AAMA. To recap, after the proto sample has been internally reviewed on the mannequin and your Kellwood designer has approved the proto for shipping from your sent photos, please send the following. The package must include the proto sample, the proto measurements written on the spec sheet from the development tech pack attached to the hang tag, the FDS sheet, swatches or trim for approval, and any additional suggestions for cost savings on construction, fabric and trim, as well as more efficient manufacturing processes. Please send in an email, the package tracking number, the digital pattern in a Gerber zip file format or DXF file format, which could be either ASTM or AAMA, and any additional suggestions for cost savings on construction, fabric, and trim, as well as more efficient manufacturing processes. Once your Kellwood designer has received the proto sample and all required documentation, the sample will be reviewed for accuracy. It will be measured and turned inside out to see all interior construction and finishing. The designer will review your suggestions on cost savings and any other comments. Then the proto will be fit on a live model. The designer will be looking at overall balance, fit, and design interpretation. This is when the pattern maker's attention to detail is most important. If the look and fit are not correct, the designer will send fit comments asking for a second proto. Or your designer might choose to redesign this style. Make sure to ask the question of your designer if your pattern maker executed the sketch correctly or if the designer changed their mind. If a second proto is requested, you will need to send additional photos for approval before shipping the second proto. Upon receiving the designer's final comments and approval for showroom samples, please carefully review all callouts provided by the designer, making note of their likes and dislikes. If you have any final questions, please email your designer to clarify before proceeding to making the showroom samples. You must always have enough fabric for 2 showroom samples. Hand off the final comments to your pattern maker. The pattern maker will make final corrections for the showroom samples. This is again a time for the pattern maker to focus on overall balance, fit, construction, attitude, and interior finishing. Once the pattern is completed and showroom samples are ready, conduct an internal review on the Kellwood approved mannequin and take photos to send to your Kellwood designer. If you need to internally reject the showroom sample for remake, please notify the designer and advise them with their reasons as well as updated timing on shipping. The pattern maker will write their measurements on the spec sheet from the development tech pack and attach it to the hang tag on the sample. To recap, after the showroom sample has been internally reviewed on the mannequin and your Kellwood designer has approved the showroom sample for shipping from your sent photos, please send the following. The package must include the showroom sample, all colorways, and any other requested samples from the tech pack instructions. The showroom sample with your measurements written on the spec sheet from the development tech pack attached to the hang tag. And any additional suggestions for cost savings on construction, fabric, and trim, as well as more efficient manufacturing processes. Please send in an email to your Kellwood designer and production manager, the package tracking number, the final digital pattern in a Gerber zip file format or DXF file format, which could be either ASTM or AAMA, the cost sheet, and any additional suggestions for cost savings on construction, fabric, and trim, as well as more efficient manufacturing processes. Congratulations! We've completed the tutorial for the Kellwood Vendor-Made Product Development 360 process. In this video tutorial, we have learned Chapter 1, Initial Review of the Development Tech Pack and Product Development Calendar. Chapter 2, Drape a Muslin. Chapter 3, How to take good photos to email to your Kellwood designer. Chapter 4, Designer reviews muslin photos and sends comments. Chapter 5, Revise pattern and submit proto sample. And Chapter 6, Designer reviews proto and approves to make the showroom sample. We'd like to thank you for partnering with us in this 360 process to improve the product development execution from sketch to showroom sample. By increasing communication between our design team and your team, we hope to improve and streamline the overall process and results. Don't forget that this information can also be found in your training manual. We hope you found this video informative. Please remember, communication is key for our success. Thank you from Kellwood.